Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi The Leo and today I am answering all your questions. We are doing a spiritual Q&A. I asked you guys, I think it was maybe a little bit over a week ago, to send in your questions, whether you wanted to ask questions about myself to get to know me or about your own spiritual journey or any advice that you would like. And I've basically just been rounding up all of your questions to answer them in this video. So that is what this video is today. So even if you haven't asked any questions, there's some really cool, interesting questions that you guys have been sending in. So even if you didn't ask any, this video is worth watching, to be honest with you, because I'm really excited to answer your questions today. Like, I'm very excited. But what I'm not going to be doing, I'm not going to be mentioning any of the names of who submitted the questions because I forgot to ask if any of you minded that. And just for like privacy, I don't want to like mention anyone's names, but you'll know if it was your question anyway. So without further ado, I have my laptop in front of me and I'm going to be answering all your questions. Okay, so the first question is, when did you realize that you were gifted? And you also asked if I could maybe do a story time on that. So I am actually going to elaborate a lot further. I'm going to do a whole story time on my whole awakening from when I was young, when my gifts started coming through, to when I actually like quote unquote woke up, and like further on until where we're at now. I will do like a full one because I saw some of you guys were really interested in me doing that, so I wrote that down and I will go further. But as far as me being gifted, like, I don't know, like when I was younger I would see spirit, like I would see spirit around quite often, but as a child, like I don't know, my mother was very like protective over me when I was a baby, so I didn't know like what, you know, what they call ghosts, like quote unquote ghosts. I hate that word. I didn't know what spirit was. When I was seeing things moving around, or I remember like laying in my bed when I was like 5 and seeing somebody walk past the bottom of my bed, I thought that was my imagination, and I had like a huge imagination. I still do. So I just thought it was my imagination. And then when I found out what spirit was, and I used to watch, like I was very interested in the paranormal, so I would watch like Most Haunted, and I would watch like all these ghost programs, and I would watch like horror movies that scared me so much. And I remember when I was like 8, 9, I was very scared of spirit, and it, you know, it didn't help that I was seeing spirit, or I was seeing, you know, I was seeing spirit in the corner of my eye, basically. I was seeing spirit moving about. I remember sometimes I'd go to sleep and I'd see images in my third eye, which I thought were dreams, of people staring at me, and I was like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? And I just thought like I was imagining things and stuff. I really would put it to the back of my mind. But because I had such strong clairsentient abilities from like an early age, I would always feel spirit around me all the time. And when I was younger, like my affiliation with spirit, quote unquote ghosts, that was a negative thing for me, because the way that I was looking into the paranormal was through ghost hunting and through horror movies. So I kind of took it in a negative way. So every time I would feel spirit at night, I would get really scared. So I started sleeping with my mother when I was like 8 years old, because I was just so frightened, because I was feeling spirit and seeing spirit, but I didn't know what clairsentient was, and I didn't know what like clairvoyancy was or anything like that either. So I was like, oh my god, like what is going on? And I would sleep in my mother's bedroom, and even then, like I would feel the spirit. I would be scared to open my eyes in case I saw something, because I always was adamant that I was feeling somebody in the room, but I never spoke about it because I would like, my mother used to call me a bit of a strange kid anyway. Like she was always like, you're strange, you know, like you're strange. So I was just like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut with this. And then when I was like 9, I think I was like 9, my mother had a psychic medium come to the house. She was friends with a medium, and the medium came in, and she was basically telling my mother that I was gifted, that I had psychic abilities. But one thing that she did do is she turned to me and she said, why aren't you sleeping in your own bed? Like, because obviously she knew. And I think she knew like why I wasn't sleeping in my own bed, because I was seeing spirit like a lot, but I was, you know, I didn't tell my mother why. I was just like, oh, I don't like to sleep on my own, I get scared. Like I never told her why. And I was just like, I don't know, I just got a bit frightened. And she just like turned to me and she was like, well, they're telling me to tell you not to be scared because they're only trying to protect you. And I was like, oh my god, they know I'm scared. Like, oh my god, she kind of confirmed to me like I was seeing spirit, like I could feel the spirit. She kind of confirmed that. So beyond that, I would try and reach out to spirit sometimes, but like I feared it at the same time. My mother went to this psychic convention thing just to get like a reading, because she used to call psychics a lot, and she brought home a pendulum. And my mother was like, I didn't want to do it in front of my mother. I was very like to myself. But whenever she put it down, I would grab the pendulum. It was like calling me, you know what I mean? I was very drawn to it. And I used to take the pendulum and I'd be like, you know, it swings for me. I know it swings around back and forth or in circles for different people. For me, it would swing like in a circle for yes and back and forth for no. And I would just sit there, I would take it up to my room when my mother didn't know, and I'd be like talking to spirit through the pendulum, and then I'd like put it back, and I'd be like, every time I would move, I'd be like, oh my god, like that was the only way that I guess spirit could communicate with me properly, because I would block out everything else because I was quite frightened. But around that time I was getting really vivid dreams and prophetic dreams where they would come true, and I didn't see that as a psychic ability. I just saw that as just I couldn't explain it. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then my mother ended up bringing a pack of tarot cards home when I was like 13. And for like a while, I just would like walk past them and just be like, but they were calling me the same time that the pendulum was. And then one day I was like 14. Whenever my mother would mention it to me, or like friends would mention it to me, I'd be like, oh, you know, like I don't like that sort of stuff. But then when my mother would like put it down on the shelf, I would take it up to my room and I would like learn tarot, and tarot would like confirm to me what messages I was getting in my head. So I was somebody that doubted a lot of what I was getting. I needed it confirmed. With that being said, I just started looking into many ways of like divination and learning about myself, and I started learning astrology quite young, like just looking into astrology, and I was like, you know, realizing a lot about myself. And that was through astrology, and then I was getting into numerology. I was learning everything at the same time, like little bits of everything at the same time, very, very young. And then I started to get like snippets of past lives, and I had a past life as a Buddhist monk, and I was being very drawn to Buddhism, and I'd never meditated before. I didn't know what any of that was really, and I was only young. I was like 15. But I was having like images of like Buddha and Buddhism, and there was just so many synchronicities there. And I'm not going to go too deep right now because I'm going to do story time on it, but I just kind of like followed the white rabbit, I guess. And then when I was like 16, I started working on my third eye because I was learning about the chakras anyway, and my third eye would start to buzz. And then when my third eye would start to buzz, I would meditate. And one time I remember my third eye felt like it expanded. My whole head felt like this vibration, and I went into like this full trance where I was just seeing loads of visions in spirit. And then beyond that, my abilities were just coming through stronger and stronger, and then I would start seeing spirit in front of me if I really meditated. And there was just lots of experiences that I will mention on my story time. I'm not going to go too deep because honestly I could talk for days, so I'll leave it there. But it was just like a rabbit hole of just synchronicities that I would just kind of follow. And because I've always been such a lone wolf, I've always spent a lot of my life like on my own. I love being on my own. Like I'm never like around like a bunch of people a lot. I'm like a very big introvert. That gave me a lot of time to connect with spirit. And when I was younger, like my mother didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have the internet, so I couldn't research too much. I was learning from like books and files that I'd find. So that gave me a lot of time to just kind of like sit in silence and actually connect with spirit and work on meditations and things like that. So everything just started to develop from there. And I'll continue that when I do a story time. I'll do like a full video. Let me know if you guys want that. Like I'll do a full long video. It'll be a long video because I can talk, but it'll be a long video, and I'll explain from the beginning to the end and everything, and I won't miss out a detail because I'm very detail orientated. So let me know if you'd like that. So the next question. Okay, so let me put my glasses on for a sec. I won't keep them on when I'm talking because I don't like it shines. You can see, like, I don't want that to distract anyone. But the next question: what are the signs that you are connected to the divine and spirit is trying to communicate with you? Good question. Okay. I don't think there's like, I think it's different for everybody. But the signs that I would see from, you know, the universe when I first started to quote unquote wake up was angel numbers. I would see angel numbers very, very like strongly. I would see 1111, you know, the master numbers like 22, 22, 33, 33, and then I would see 44, 44. It was like repeated numbers everywhere. And I think one of the biggest signs from it, like that the divine is trying to connect with you and that you're connecting. I mean, we're always connecting with the divine even when we don't think we are. But I think one of the biggest signs is synchronicities. And it doesn't have to be numbers. It can be you thinking of something and then it happening. It can be songs being repeated and a message really resonating with you in that time. You know, if you're sitting at home feeling low and all of a sudden a song comes on that makes you feel good, or there's like lyrics in that song that are really uplifting, that's usually your spirit guides in the universe trying to give you a little pick-me-up. I used to work in like a department store in America. I think it's kind of like a Walmart type of store, but I worked on like the clothing section, so they always had music playing, and every time I'd feel low, there was certain songs that spirit would use to play to kind of connect with me and be like, pick your chin up, you know what I mean, you're on the right path. So there's so many different ways in which they're connecting with you. It depends, you know, they can happen through music or animals, like synchronicities like that, or you can just having it in a knowing where information is tapped into you. You have a random thought, you know, your third eye might start vibrating. That's what happens with me sometimes. My third eye will start vibrating. One of the ways that spirit would connect with me when I wasn't so susceptible to spirit, in the sense that I was blocking it out because I was quite frightened, one of the ways that they'd connect with me is through my dreams. So I would say, you know, when spirit are trying to connect with you when you're having very vivid dreams, and all the dreams mean something. One time I had a dream of a jellyfish going through the water, going with the tide, and it was at a time where I'd been through a lot of craziness, and this was a year where I was going through my waning square in astrology, and I was trying to find out how to bring my spiritual gifts out there, and I didn't know how, and spirit were trying to tell me through that dream, instead of forcing it, go with this year, go with the energy, and you'll arrive at your purpose. And I did. So I would definitely take a little look at your dreams and what's coming through in your dreams, because you may even find spirit trying to communicate with you through my dreams. My great grandmother used to do that with me as a child. She'd come and visit me in my dreams to give me like messages. She'd always do that. I actually had a dream last night where spirit were trying to communicate with me in those dreams. So yeah, there's lots of different ways, there's lots of different synchronicities that can happen, but the only thing that I would say is just to keep an open mind, because what looks like a coincidence, there's nothing coincidental in this world, you know what I mean? There really is not. So any, you know, repeated numbers, coins that you're finding, feathers, animals that are coming to you, it's not a coincidence. Songs in your mind, or dreams that you're having, you know what I mean, or deja vu, anything like that, spirit's probably trying to connect with you in some sort of way. On the basis of dreams, let me put my glasses on. The next question, can someone contact you through dreams if you've never seen them before? Yes. Yes, I heard someone say that every dream that we have, it's usually from a face that we've seen before, but I know that not to be true, because I've been visited by spirit, and in this lifetime I've never seen those particular souls, you know, the way that they came to me, not in this lifetime anyway. So yes, they can completely come to you. You can have visions of, like, you know, you could have like psychic dreams, like visions of somebody coming in the future that you've never seen before. One time when I was in a karmic relationship, I was being cheated on, and I basically had a dream where I was on a beach, and I was sitting next to a friend, somebody that I'd been seeing before. I was sitting next to him, and as I was sitting next to him, my boyfriend at the time walked past me on the beach with a girl in his arms, like linking arms with her, and I got so upset because in my intuition, in my dream, I was like, I'm being cheated on, and I saw it with my own eyes, and that really, really upset me, and I'd never seen that girl before. And then the next day, well, it wasn't the next day, I think it was like 2 days later, I'd gone out on a night out with my friends, and my boyfriend at the time was out, but not a lot of people knew he was my boyfriend at the time, so I was keeping it hush-hush because no one wanted me to be with him. And I was sitting next to this exact friend from my dream. We were sitting on the couch in this nightclub, and my ex walked past me with the exact girl from my dreams, linking arms with her, and he'd actually been seeing her behind my back. So I saw her before I'd ever actually seen her. So that's how I know that before even seeing somebody's face, you know, it can happen, and spirit will come to you in dreams, and you know what I mean, you could even have the higher self of a soulmate come to you in your dream, you know what I mean, that can always happen as well, or like ancestors that you weren't necessarily in this lifetime with, but they're coming to deliver a message from you. That can always happen too. So yes, you can definitely see people that you've never seen before in your dreams. Okay, so the next question, there are times when I feel frustrated, confused and hopeless about spirituality. How to overcome and get through these times? I can relate, to be honest with you. When I first started my spiritual journey, I didn't know that it was a quote-unquote spiritual journey. I was very on my own, didn't have any mentors, didn't have anyone around. So I kind of went with the flow, and I didn't really have expectations. But when I realized that there was a quote-unquote spiritual community, and I was, you know, watching people's YouTube videos, and I was like, wow, like, I'm not alone. Sometimes I'd see people, and obviously I was going through, like I said, I've learned a lot of my wisdom through my own like negative experiences, and I've had to kind of go through the ringer a little bit. And I was, you know, looking at people who were doing like manifestation videos, and they seemed to have their ish together. Like, they seemed to have manifested everything that they wanted in their life. And even though I was manifesting things in, like, I felt like I almost, because I feel like it's a human instinct to do, I would compare myself to somebody else's journey of, oh my God, look what they've mastered up in their life, and look what they know, and I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, I remember somebody talking about, what were they talking about? There was something somebody was talking about, I never heard of it. Twin flames. Like, people were talking about twin flames. I'd never heard the word twin flames because I never really was researching. I would only research and look at what I was being told by spirit, and the twin flame situation never came up. And I saw everybody talking about twin flames, and I was like, I don't know what that is. So I would always kind of feel like, when I did realize there was a spiritual community, I started to compare where people were at, or what they were doing, or what they'd conjured up, and then I'd feel kind of hopeless. Like, I feel like I'm stuck, because at the time when I realized there was a spiritual community, I was going through a really, really hard time. I was breaking, like, that year I was breaking like really deep generational curses, and I was like, like, this is a really hard time for me. But it didn't mean that I was behind. I was breaking something very profound in my life, which was like, it had to happen for my journey. You know what I mean? It was a very powerful time that I was going through, but I wasn't seeing it as that. I was comparing it to somebody else. So one thing that I would say about your spiritual journey, if you are feeling hopeless, or you feel like you're not up to par with where you feel somebody else is, or if you feel like you're not, you know, moving forward as much as you like to, I want you to know that there is no end and there is no beginning to a spiritual journey. The minute that you start to wake up, you're already doing enough. Everything will happen in complete divine timing. Nobody is above or below you. Nobody is more advanced, or, you know, whatever. There's some people that are extremely amazing and have these like amazing psychic gifts, but yet they might not hold certain wisdom that somebody's gone through, you know, in regards to going through some hard times and learning that wisdom through that. Or somebody might be an amazing astrologer, and that's how they've learned their wisdom, but they might not, you know, have mastered another field. We're all master in life, and there's no race, there's no you should be. And that's one thing that I feel sometimes I worry about going into, when I see spirituality becoming like mainstream. I worry because anything that is quote unquote mainstream, it's sometimes a mask that people put on. It's sometimes I've got to act this way to be, you know, to look beautiful, or I've got to blah blah blah. And I've seen, since spirituality, you know, it's kind of like all over TikTok and stuff. I don't use TikTok, but my sisters told me I see people trying to fit an image, and I don't want anyone to see somebody with all the glitz and the crystal. Well, when I say glitz and glamour, I say crystals and, I don't know, sage or whatever. Seeing somebody like that and thinking that you're not where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Because it's not. I would say to take any expectation of what you believe spirituality to be off you, because that's probably what's weighing you down. You know what I mean? It's the expectation of I should be this or I should be that, when being just you in this moment and knowing that there's more to life, and just, you know, listening to your emotions and being where you are, that is enough. You know what I mean? And divine timing will take you where it needs to be. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't try and become, I would just be. I'm not saying that you're trying to become or anything like that, but that was what happened with me. There was a phase where I was like, everybody's so when I was looking at some people on YouTube and they were like manifesting everything in, and it was all lights and love, and I was just like, I'm on my own, like I don't have anyone, I'm going through deep trauma at the moment, like oh my god, like I just felt so like behind, and I'd never had that feeling before, and it was because I was never comparing before, I was never putting a label on what I was before. So I would say to take all of that off. I had to do that again and revert back and be like, let me just take all of that off of what, you know, I feel I'm expected to be, and let me just be. So just be now and just do what you're drawn to, and don't put any expectations on yourself, because your soul is here right now. So just be, you know what I mean? I would say, like, leave all the expectations, you know what I mean? So yeah, what I would basically say is just be. Don't try to become, just be, you know what I mean? Don't try and, sometimes I used to go into meditations and I would force my, you know, my gifts to come through, and that was, you know, fine. I was like, get gifts coming through, but the real messages started to come through when I would let go of any expectation of what is supposed to be, what is supposed to happen, and that is when everything would come through. So I would say let go of the steering wheel in a way and just see what flows to you. The next question is, how do you properly cleanse one space? Good question. So I have lots of things in regards to cleansing my space. First of all, every month on a new moon, I like to do a huge clean. I clean my room anyway. I don't just clean it once a month, but I like to do a huge clean, and I like to get rid of everything that I'm not using. So if there's any clothes that don't suit me, any perfumes, any, you know, sometimes you have like a messy drawer with loads of things in there that you don't need, I get rid. I make sure that my room is as simplistic as it can be, other than my shelf with all my tarot decks, because like I hoard them clearly, and books, I like to hoard books too for some reason, and crystals. Other than that, like I like to make everything nice and simplistic, you know what I mean? So I like to do that. And what I obviously do is I cleanse my room with sage. I use different types of sage. I have a lot. This morning I actually used Herbo Santo. I use different types of sages. I usually ask spirit what one I'm more in need of, to be honest with you, but I will sage and cleanse my room. I also use Florida water to spritz around my room. I have a little spray bottle and I spritz Florida water around my room and my tables and things like that, especially when I've been doing a reading there. I get like a cloth and I'll like wipe it down with my Florida water, and I make sure that that is all sorted. But when I'm saging around my room as well, I like to send affirmations and ask spirit as I'm going through my room with the sage to uplift any stagnant energies, any unwanted energies. I let my windows open. I like to do it on a new moon, like on a new moon, to let the new energy on. I like open my windows and I let all that new energy in, and then on a full moon I open them and I let all the energy get cleansed out when I'm cleansing my decks and my crystals. But one thing that I like to do to make sure that my room is very protected is I get clear quartz. A psychic told me to do this when I spoke to him before. I get clear quartz and I put a clear quartz in 4 corners of my room. So each corner of my room I have 4 little pieces, and I put one in each corner of my room, and then I sit in the middle of my room, like center of my room, and I hold another clear quartz in my hand, and I meditate and I energetically ask the clear quartz to form a grid, a shield of protection around my room, to make sure that it is cleansed and there's no unwanted energies there. And I visualize each point of these crystals going up above my head into a pyramid, and I sit there with the crystal quartz in my hand and I envision, because my bedroom's an attic anyway, it's naturally in the shape of a triangle, so it's a lot easier for me to visualize, but I visualize a beautiful force field, like a pyramid around me, protecting my room of clear quartz. So that is what I do. And another tip that I found, I can't remember where I heard this from, if you have any doorways like in your house, get a selenite bar, you know, like the long selenite bars. Place a selenite bar on top of the doorway and then place a tiny black tourmaline on top, because what you're doing then, when anybody walks into your room or into your house or wherever they're going in your home, they are naturally being cleansed by the selenite bar, and the black tourmaline is absorbing any negative energy from that person. So anyone that's walking into that doorway, whether you've gone out and come back in, they're naturally being cleansed by the selenite, and then they're being cleansed by the black tourmaline. That's something that I like to do as well. So that's what I do to cleanse my space, really. But I just like everything to be simplistic and be where it needs to be. So I'm always getting rid of energy, because obviously when we have clutter around the house, clutter is energy, and amounts of energy can like pent up on it. Yeah, that is how I cleanse my room and what I make sure that I'm doing all the time. But I would definitely you probably do sage, watching this, you probably do sage, but I would definitely say maybe wipe your walls down and your tables down with Florida water. That really helps, and just spray it around as well. You can get Florida water from, I get my Florida water from Mystic Wolf, but you can get your Florida water from anywhere. They have it on Etsy and things like that as well. I got it from a shaman something, I can't remember the name, the Shaman Oracle it might have been, I'm not sure, and that's where I got my Florida water from before, but I usually get it from Mystic Wolf now. So yeah, I hope that helped. So let's look at the next question. Most effective methods of manifestation. There's lots of ways, like I could just sit here and name, but it's funny, I've tried lots of different ways of manifesting, and there's two ways that have proven the best for me. The first one is just good old-fashioned scripting. Scripting's never let me down. Scripting is what brought me the channel that you have today. Scripting is what brought my really intense awakening on, which I will be doing a story time on. Scripting is what helped me lose weight. Scripting is what helped me learn to love myself and start smiling in photos and stuff. Scripting is just what I've used to manifest the majority of the things that I have now in. So never underestimate scripting, and always script in the present tense like you already have it. But the second way of manifestation is, I don't know whether you've watched my video on YouTube. It's called How to Shift Timelines, how to alter timelines and shift reality. And basically, I'm not going to get too deep into it now, but I basically explain on there how, you know, the future is not set in stone in any way, and we have multiple timelines in which we can go down. And the thing is about time doesn't really exist. So all that exists is where we are, like right now. So with that being said, when we're manifesting, what we're really doing is having the energy around us shift to become what we want, because energy is mutable. Energy cannot die, nor can it be like reborn. Energy is just mutable, it's always shifting. So with that being said, everything that we want is already out there, because it's just energy. So if we become it, that's when it happens. So I started to shift timelines where I'd be like, okay, I'm on a timeline where I weigh this much and I'm a healthy weight, or I'm on a timeline where I love myself. I'm on a timeline where there was a time where I didn't have eyebrows and I wanted my eyebrows back. I was like, I'm on a timeline where I have eyebrows, and I would act as if. So say now you want to, be a little bit healthier, maybe lose some weight or something like that. That was something that I was doing. Normally people would try and wear baggy clothes or whatever to cover their weight until they felt like they'd reached that point. I would wear clothes that necessarily I wouldn't have worn because I didn't feel that they looked right on me, but I wore them because I was like becoming the weight that I wanted to be. So I was like, I'm the weight that I want to be, I'm comfortable in it. So I would act as if, because by doing that, when I say the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, and the now exists, by becoming it in that moment, the energy around you is manifesting to become it for you. And that's the most effective way for me, is looking at a timeline and becoming what I want in that timeline. It's not a case even of acting as if, it's just being it, being it. When I used to I really wanted to like pass my driving test, I used to, when I was sitting on a bus, I was sitting on a bus, but in my mind I wasn't sitting on a bus. In my mind I was driving my Range Rover to work. You know what I mean? So doing little things like that for me have really helped bring manifestations in, and I think that is probably my best, most effective method. But never ever ever like look away from the like power of scripting. Scripting works like the best for me, to be honest with you. Scripting really helps me. So I use, for like my herbal medicines and things like that, I like to take like herbal medicines instead of like actual medication. Obviously listen to your intuition. If you feel like you need to take normal medication, then take it. But I've been trying to be as herbal as I can with what I'm putting in my body, because I get very affected by it. So places like that, I like Holland and Barrett. I don't know whether you've ever heard. They have a lot of like vegan friendly makeup, and they have like lots of supplements for like vitamins. And I was struggling when I was going through the first stages of my very intense Kundalini awakening back in the summer. I couldn't sleep at all. I was going days without sleeping, and the only thing that brought me back was taking these valerian root tablets to help me sleep, because I genuinely couldn't sleep. And I was getting them from Holland and Barrett. So I usually go there for any of that. And then in regards to like sage and things like that I buy in crystals, I get them from Mystic Wolf, and there's a reason that I actually get them from Mystic Wolf. I'm not sure if Holland and Barrett ship worldwide, but I know Mystic Wolf do. And the reason that I get my crystals from Mystic Wolf was because I was getting my crystals from somewhere else. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to like, you know, badmouth anyone, but I was getting my crystals from somewhere else and they were relatively quite cheap. And I was like, oh, okay, like I got them from loads of places, but there was this one place I would buy a lot of like tumble stones and stuff from, and they were quite cheap, you know what I mean? They weren't like extremely cheap, but they were quite cheap. And one night I had this dream where there was 2 amethyst crystals on a like an altar type thing, and they were both for sale. And there was this one really shiny glowy crystal, and it was for sale for £1, so like $1. You know, I know you all have different currencies, but you know what I mean. And then there was the other crystal, which was like a square crystal. It was like a square crystal, and that crystal was I think it was like £100, and it was a lot smaller and it wasn't twinkling, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, obviously I'm gonna buy the really big twinkly crystal for £1, like, of course. So I want to go buy it. This is a dream now, by the way, in case you didn't realize. But I want to go buy this shiny shimmery crystal, and my spirit guide was stood next to me, and she said, go on, pick it up. And when I went to pick it up, it was actually a cloth, and the cloth lifted, and it was actually just a black average stone underneath, and it wasn't an amethyst. And then I looked at her and I said, why are they doing that? Was it fake? And she was like, yeah. And she said, if you want to have real ethically sourced crystals, you're gonna have to pay up. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I never thought that before. That was like quite a few years ago, and I was just like, oh. But then I was like, well, where do I get crystals from? How do I know that they're not gonna be like fake, or they're not gonna be like watered down or whatever, you know what I mean? Because I personally like more clusters than polished ones myself. And this one day, because at the time my spirit animal was a wolf, I typed in crystals for wolves. I don't know why I typed that in, but I did. And Mystic Wolf crystals came up, which is the place where I get all my sage and my Florida water and everything from. And when I clicked on Mystic Wolf, the exact crystal from my dream was showcased at the top of the page for the exact price that it was in my dream. And that's when I knew that spirit kind of guided me to it. And then I bought a crystal from there, which was a snowflake obsidian, and I found it hard to connect to crystals to actually ground me. They helped with other things, but as far as grounding me, it was really hard for me to find crystals that would ground me. And I'd finished a long shift at work, and I told you I talk for ages. I finished a long shift from work, and I got home and I was so ungrounded, and my parcel from Mystic Wolf had come, and I was like, let's see if they're good then. And I grabbed my snowflake obsidian and I took it upstairs, and the minute I sat with it at my altar, I never felt as grounded as I did while holding that crystal. And that's why I'll always vouch for Mystic Wolf. They charge them on a full moon on their altar, like they handpick them. They've got really good customer service, so that's why I get a lot of my crystals and things like that from, and my sage and everything. So Mystic Wolf. So the next question, ways to integrate magic into your day. Ooh. I'm trying to think. I work from home now, so I'm like always talking to spirit. Like, I'm always working and doing Reiki and just connecting with spirit all the time. I like to always keep crystals with me. I always like to keep little spell jars. I do like little spell jars, little like self-love, self-beauty jars. I'm actually gonna do one in February, hopefully in February. I'm hoping to do it on Valentine's Day if my schedule sticks to its schedule. I'm going to be doing a self-beauty jar, and I'll be probably doing more little spell jars and things like that on my channel. I'm quite excited to do that. So I like to make little jars, little positivity jars, or you know, little protection jars, or self-love jars, or confidence jars, and I like to keep them on me. So that's one. I like to always keep little jars like that on me, and I always keep crystals on me as well, if I need to kind of like revert back to spirit. But I don't know, like, I've always lived in my head, like I always have. And the last job that I had before this one, I was on my own all the time, always like talking to spirit, you know what I mean? I was always like talking to spirit in my mind and like connecting with spirit in my mind, so I was always conversing with spirit. And one thing that I love to do is like really tap, like I wouldn't necessarily invite like everybody to do this, especially not the way I was doing it, because I was so clairsentient. Like I would become so drained after work, and this is probably why. But I like to, like, you know, like sometimes people watch. My best friend Sam does this. Hey Sam, if you're watching, he like people watches people do that thing, you know what I mean, like just move about life. But I like to like empath watch. Does that make sense? Like I like to tap into people's energy and watch people's like facial expressions and like listen to how they're talking, and do you know what I mean? And I like to watch people, you know what I mean, watch people converse, you know what I mean, see where their ego is jumping in, you know, or where that spirit within them is coming through, you know what I mean. I love talking to my granddad, because my granddad's kind of getting a bit of Alzheimer's now, but he sometimes will talk about like aliens and spirit and things. Like I see his soul coming through, you know, with all those ideas before he snaps back, you know what I mean. He always does little things like that. He actually gave me a book the other day about space, because he thought that astrology and astronomy were the same thing, so he gave me a book about space, which I've been reading. But I like to watch people like this. The thing is, even though I like to be on my own, I like to watch people converse. I think we can learn a lot from each other, you know what I mean. And I know that's probably not the most magical thing, but human beings are magical, like they are. And I love to watch people talk and speak and talk about their experiences, and like I like to feel their soul coming through. Do you know what I mean? Like through the human ego, I like to feel the higher self. Like I like to watch that. I know that sounds really weird, but that's just something I do all the time. Yeah, that's just something that I do all the time. I also like to keep like manifestation water on me, or like water that I've kind of prayed over. I don't know whether you've watched my video. I did a video that was 5 or 6 tips. The video was called like 6 tips for staying positive throughout the day, or 6 tips for staying in like high vibrations throughout the day, something like that. It was on my spirituality playlist, and I talked about how I like to, if I have like water in the morning before I put it in a bottle or anything, I like to kind of pray over it and meditate over it and send healing energy to it and positivity to it, or like a manifestation that I want to bring into it before drinking it. So whenever I'm feeling low, I can drink it, and like it's like kind of like a top up. It's like my own little water. And I also like to do like breath work like throughout the day. When I worked in like a job where I was becoming very ungrounded very quickly, I would go into the toilet like quite often, to be honest with you, and I would just sit there in front of the mirror and I would just do breath work, like literally just 5-minute breath work, and it would just bring me back. And just remember, like, you're a soul incarnated here, like don't forget that, don't let your ego run away with you. So there's just little things like that, but I feel like I'm always kind of connecting and talking to spirit in my head, or like looking for signs. I've always been one of those people that looks for signs, you know what I mean. So yeah, I would definitely keep little reminders on you, like you're a soul incarnated here, you know what I mean, because that's what I do, and it kind of brings me back. So maybe get like some little spell jars, do little spell jars or something like that. Like I said, I'll be doing one on my channel soon, which I'm excited for, and it'll be a self-love one. So yeah, I like to do little things like that and keep little things on me as little reminders. Next question is, where did you learn about everything you know right now? Were there specific books? Funnily enough, like I mean that could kind of be answered in different ways. In regards to my astrology, I kind of was self-teaching astrology before I ended up doing a course. Like I was just kind of like self-teaching myself. There's amazing books out there to learn astrology from, and it was the same with numerology, palmistry, everything like that. A lot of the things that I have learned, I've self-taught through books and things like that. But in regards to, like, people always ask me like, how do you know certain things about spirit, or how do you know, you know, where'd you get your wisdom from? I get that sometimes, like, where'd you get this knowledge from? But I'm like, I think it's because I'm such an introvert. I was always on my own. Like I always was. Like when I was a kid, like I did find it hard to kind of connect with people as a kid, to be honest with you. And I was such an innocent like kid. Like I didn't see the negative in people. Do you know what I mean? I just saw like the light in people, and that didn't really, you know, do well in a society like this one. Do you know what I mean? Especially from my town that I come from was quite small-minded as well, so I kind of got pushed around a bit. But then as I got older, like I spent a lot of time on my own, like from 14 to like maybe 18, those time periods, which is when I went through my awakening. I was very much on my own. My best friend Nye, shout out Nye if you're watching this, she had gone to a different school in a different town than me, and then she ended up going to university, so I didn't see her a lot, like as much as I wasn't with her every day, so I was really on my own like a lot. And then my mother, like when she was younger, she had like, when I was younger, she had like substance abuse issues, so like I was never really around her like a lot, like choosing to like chill with her or be friends with her in a way. I was always kind of like on my own, so I had like no choice but to kind of like, I would just naturally connect to spirit then, you know what I mean? And a lot of what I know, it was just my finding through spirituality. When I first got into spirituality, I actually went into like Buddhism, and I was actually I actually believed that I would convert to Buddhism at one point, because I'd been christened like Christian, and I was going to convert to Buddhism. I really thought that I would, but through Buddhism and meditating and being visited by spirit, I was having a lot of revelations through spirit. I guess I was tapping into my Akashic records. I was having a lot of synchronicities and message come through from spirit. Like when I learned about what the universe really was, I didn't read about it, spirit told me. I was questioning, because I was like basically believed to be Buddhist at the time, like I followed like Buddhist religion, and then one day spirit visited me as a nun. And when I was feeling really low, I asked her what should I do, because I was feeling really low, and she did this, and I said, what, pray? And she said, yeah, pray. And I was like, okay. And I at that point I believed in like reaching nirvana. I didn't necessarily believe in quote unquote God, and I prayed, and then after I prayed I felt better, but I was in such a question, because I always question things. I was like 15, 16 at the time, and I was like questioning like who did I just pray to if I don't believe in it? Like, what does that mean? And I meditated to ask spirit, like, well, what did I just pray to then? And spirit didn't tell me. Spirit showed me like the universe is just, God is the universe, you know what I mean? Reaching nirvana is reaching enlightenment. It's the universe, and the universe isn't apart from you. It's not something that you're calling to. The universe is within you, and it's within everybody, you know what I mean? We all have that Christ consciousness within us. And spirit were kind of just like revealing this information to me, and I didn't even know if it was true. I just had to kind of go within, trust my intuition that it was true. And it wasn't until like literally 2018 when I realized like there was a whole spiritual community. I started watching a brilliant YouTube channel called Channeling Eric. I don't know whether any of you have heard of the channel. I can't remember the name of the lady, but basically her son had passed away when he was younger. He'd taken his own life, and she was quite atheist, but not long after that she started speaking to mediums, and her son was coming through mediums to talk, and she started this channel called Channeling Eric, where they'd do a lot of interviews. There was this one lady, they were videos like from way back, it was from like 2012, 2013, I can't remember the name of the medium, but she had blonde hair way back on the channel. You'll have to really search down, but she would, she would speak to the psychic and her son who had crossed over, and the son would be there in spirit, and they would ask questions about things like celebrities that maybe have passed away, or are mermaids real, are fairies real, are this and that, and they would kind of answer, you know what I mean, and talk to like spirit and ask all of these questions that I guess humans are kind of burning to have. And one of the questions was, what is the universe? And she literally word by word said what spirit had told me, and that's when I was starting to have everything that I learned confirmed, you know what I mean? So a lot of what I learned, and when I speak about it, it's come from my chats with spirit, which is like very frequent. I kind of came to this earth with a very open crown chakra, and it just felt more normal for me to live in the higher realms for a while and to live in the physical world until it was time to put my gifts out there, because I was just shifting so much. So a lot of my knowledge has come from really spirit, but I do like research a lot as well. I have like a lot of books. I just have like random little books that I can't really like, that I get little bits of information from. Like I have a book here, I'll just pull random books just to show you guys random ones. I have so many. Oh god, I have this one, and it's called Secrets from the East, and in here they talk about like reincarnation, things to do with spirituality and things. This guy called Vida, he went on kind of like a quest basically about like spirituality and what karma and everything is. So that's like a really good one. And then I have like loads of like little books, guys. I have a lot of law of attraction books. You've probably seen them. Let me pull one. This is one, Secret the Power. This is when I first started like looking at what the law of attraction was, because I never heard the word law of attraction until I was 18. I just used to manifest and kind of like I would create, like, do you know what I mean? Like I would just bring things in. I just thought I was doing magic, but it was manifesting. And then when I learned what the law of attraction was, I started buying the books and things like that. So there's that. If you guys are looking into getting into chakras more than what I've done on my channel, because I've done like a little series of chakras on my channel, but this book I love because it has a lot of information. It's called A Complete Guide to Chakras, and it's by Ambika Waters, I think that's how you say it. But it's so, like, there's just so much information in here, guys, like a lot of information. I'll just pull like random books for you guys really quickly. You can skip this part if you don't really care for books, but I'm just looking at books. I have some spell books here. What's this one? Wicca, Book of Herbal Spells. Yeah, so I have that. Oh, I thought my cat was at my window then. She likes to climb and stare at me, and she always gives me a fright no matter how many times. What other books do I have? Oh, a Kundalini book. Oh no, this isn't Kundalini, this is Reiki. I have a Reiki book. And I have a Kundalini book. That one was called Orion Plain and Simple by Philip Jones. Reiki book. If you guys are thinking of getting into Reiki, I'll just pull one of each. I have a Kundalini book. It's called Kundalini, An Untold Story. Does it say who it's done by? I never look at the names, so I don't know. Swami. So there's that book as well. And then for those of you that want to learn about astrology, these books I will always vouch for. It's called The Only Way to Learn Astrology, and they basically, even when I learned like a lot about astrology, I ended up buying these books anyway, because I feel like even when you go back to basics with astrology, you still learn so much anyway. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like there's ever enough to know. I like to hear everyone's interpretations of anything. So this is a series. They go up to about number 7, up to volume 7. This is the first one. I have them all over there. One book that I will say as well, I'm not going to go through them all, guys, because you probably don't want to see like every single book. If you are interested, I will do a video on books that have helped me, so comment down below if you'd like that. But I'll just show you one more. If you guys are interested in the phases of the moon and, you know, like astrology and the moon and things like that, and what the moon signs mean and the phases and whatnot, a little bit like deeper than what I've done on my channel, this book I love. It's the Moonology book. A lot of you are probably aware with the oracle cards that she's done. Yasmin Boland, I think that's her name. But this book, Moonology, working with the lunar cycles, this one I really, really love, and it's a lot of detail. Very thick, a lot of detail in there. I like to be careful that I don't get marks. I'm quite like cleanly like that. I don't know why, but that is a really good book. So I'm not going to name any more, but let me know down below if you'd like a whole. I'm basically going to be doing a tarot video soon. I talk about like my more favorite and asked about tarot cards, so I'll do that with books if you guys are interested and wanting to buy and purchase some books. But yeah, I hope that helps. So the next question is, did you have any mentors when you started your spiritual journey, and do you need a mentor? I didn't have a mentor. I was like I said, I feel like you guys know by now, like I was kind of like I feel like I've said this a few times in this video, so I won't go like too into detail, but I was kind of like a lone wolf, and I didn't know that other people were going on these like profound spiritual awakenings, and I didn't really know what to call mine, so I never really knew what was going on, which I think helped a lot, because I never had an expectation of what like a spiritual awakening was supposed to look like, or you know, I just kind of had my mind open, and I think that's why everything flowed the way that it did. I do wish sometimes I had a spiritual mentor, because sometimes, especially when I was going through some shifts and ascensions, they were quite hard, so I do sometimes wish that I did have one, but I think it made me a lot stronger doing it on my own. But it's up to the person, you know. Do you need a mentor? No, I don't think that you do, because I'm like kind of like living proof that you don't need one. But you know, if you feel like if you're somebody that likes to talk to others, and not that I don't like to talk to others, but if you're somebody that's more outgoing, or somebody that feels like they would like someone to kind of show the ropes in some sort of way, I would definitely say to get a mentor, you know what I mean? But I never had one, so you don't need one, so don't worry if you don't have one, because I never had one ever. But yeah, I wouldn't say that you need one. Just listen to your intuition at the end of the day, because the thing is as well, if you are setting the intention of having a mentor, spirit and, you know, your spirit team will bring somebody onto your path, you know what I mean? And your souls would probably have, you know, linked up with their souls in the higher realms to kind of say, hey, you know, I need a mentor where I'm at. You know, do you think you'll be able to come, and a timeline will be created where you are able to kind of link up and help each other out, you know what I mean? So just listen to your intuition with what you think is right, you know what I mean? You definitely don't need one, you know what I mean? You definitely, it's up to you, you know what I mean? It's up to you to define how you go about everything. I like to never try to define the spiritual journey that is life. I try not to define it. So the next question: for Christmas, my mother got me my first pack of tarot cards. I'm 14, so I've just started my spiritual journey. I would love to know any tips and techniques you use to do your tarot readings. Okay, so tips and tricks for my tarot readings. What do I do in regards to like learning tarot, like in regards to like learning if you're just getting into it and whatnot? The same way that I said not to have any expectation on like the spiritual journey, I wouldn't have any expectation on tarot either, you know what I mean? Like when I started learning tarot, I'll get a little bit into it because there is another question about tarot that I was going to explain this part with, but I never knew the meaning of the cards, because my mother, by the time I started using my mother's tarot cards, she'd lost the booklet, so I didn't have a booklet, and at the time I couldn't afford internet in the house, so I had to kind of like go off of my intuition with the tarot cards. And what I would do, and this is like a tip that I would say for you, is to maybe get like a little journal or a little scrapbook, and every card that you come across, like just shuffle and see what card comes out, and every card that comes out, write what the card makes you feel, write what you see in the card, what image is coming to mind in the card, and then maybe like create a scenario in your own mind of what that could be. Whenever I would pick the Five of Wands, which is the guys fighting, I would like attach an image to it, you know what I mean, so I could make sense of it. And the image that I would create, because the feeling that it made me feel was like friction, I would attach an image of when my father was still in my life when I was younger. Him and my mother used to argue like a lot, and I would always attach the image of them arguing to that card, because it was an image that I could remember, and it was that feeling, you know, so I could draw my own experiences into the tarot. And that's how I started actually learning tarot, because I didn't have the little booklet or anything like that, so I would kind of put my own experiences to the card. So like when you see the card, look at the background. What's the sky doing? Is the sky sunny? Is the sky like cloudy? You know what I mean? Look at that and be like, you know, what does that make me feel? What do I think about that? You know what I mean? What's the guy's face like? Is he angry? Is he smiling? You know what I mean? Like when you look at the sun card and the guy is like happy on the horse, you know, you want to analyze that. What does the horse represent? Freedom. You know, what does the sun represent? Clarity. And just really like dissect it and write that in your book. Write down everything that you see in that card, or what it makes you feel, or what you can tie to it in regards to your own experience. That helped me a lot, so I would definitely get a tarot journal and really write down everything that you get from it. That really helps. So the next question is, why is my spiritual journey making me so emotional? How can I cope with this overwhelming feeling? Okay, if you've started or you've been on your spiritual journey for a while and you're feeling emotional, these emotions, especially if you're referencing something from the past, if emotions are coming through from the past, or, you know, certain experiences are making you feel sad, I would say to feel your way through them. The more you try to run from emotions, the more you're pushing them down and they stay in your energetic body. And to release any feeling, we want to let it go. You know what I mean? We want to release it and let it go. So I definitely would basically I would actually say to write down your emotions on a piece of paper and really get to the root of what is making you emotional. Are you feeling confused? And then ask yourself, why am I feeling confused? What's going on there? Are you feeling hopeless? Why am I feeling that way? And really go into like a deep meditation and feel where that feeling is coming from. Because I used to have really bad anxiety when I started my spiritual awakening, and I had to really dissect where this anxiety was coming from. Why is it happening? Why do I feel this way? And really follow the line back as to where it was coming from, and really look into it and knead it. Like when you're massaging, you have to knead it, and it hurts in the moment but it's relieving. That's what happens, you know what I mean? So really hone in on the specific feeling that you're feeling and try and follow it to where it's coming from. I know this can sometimes be hard, but that is what works with me whenever I'm getting an overwhelming feeling of something. But I hope you feel better soon. I'm going to send you lots of love from my heart to yours. I hope you're feeling better soon. Hi Lovely, would love to have a more in-depth understanding of your routine, of how you personally protect yourself every day, and what to do if a negative spirit were to break through your protective walls. Okay. More in-depth understanding of your routine, of how you personally protect yourself every day. Okay. So how I personally protect myself every day is, I'm somebody, like I said, I like to live in the higher realms. It's very hard for me to get grounded, very hard for me to stay grounded. So I need to do a lot of physical exercise myself to get myself grounded into my physical body before I do anything. So the minute that I wake up, the first thing I do is jump straight out of bed and work out. And I know that for some is like, that's a no-go. I only do it because I become very ungrounded if I do not. So I like to do physical like activity. So I will like go for a run, like squats, whatever, do like a mini video, whatever. I'll do some physical workout, and then what I like to do is, obviously after I've done the workout, I jump in the shower. And what I like to do is, when I'm showering, I get the cap of the shower and I watch the water go down my body, and I visualize any negative lingering energies that are on my body going through the water. The water is cleansing, and I say to the water as I'm cleansing, I am now being cleansed of any negative energies, any unwanted energies, any stagnant energies. The water is now cleansing my body. Then once I've had my breakfast, I like to I come upstairs, and straight away I like to ground myself and do like a quick chakra tune-up to make sure that my chakras are in alignment, so I connect to my root, my sacral, my, I'm not going to go through all the chakras, but I go through all the chakras, and I get my energy, my hands together like this, the chakras on my hands, and I like to feel the energy in my palms, and then I like to push into my heart, my throat, every chakra to give that little bit of a tune-up. And I like to listen to singing bowls too. There's like an 11-minute chakra tune-up on YouTube. I will link it if I remember when I'm editing. I'll make a note to link it. I like to listen to that when I'm meditating. And then what I do is I like to get my sage, and I sage my body, and I ask spirit. I call on if you work with deities, you can call on the deities. I call on Ganesha, and I call on Goddess Kali, and I call on Archangel Michael as well, and sometimes Aphrodite if I'm feeling a bit, and I'll sage, and I'll say, I'm protected by Ganesha, I'm protected by Goddess Kali, and I'm protected by my spirit guides, and I'll go through that, and I'll cleanse myself of that energy. And then once I've done that, I like to visualize a black net. I don't know why I do a black net. You can visualize anything. You can visualize a protective white pyramid around you, where you can imagine like a big ball of light around you, but I for some reason naturally I for some reason visualize this black net going over me to cover my body from any unwanted energies. So it's like I'm under this shield, and I imagine it going all over my body. I don't know why it's black too. I always imagine like a black one, maybe because I like black tourmaline, and I wear a black tourmaline crystal a lot, but I imagine it going over my body and like I'm underneath it. And then I like to get my Florida water, and I like to spray my Florida water and put it on the back of the neck, because sometimes negative energies can sometimes get attracted to like the chakras or the portals at the back of your neck. So I like to rub some Florida water in the back of my neck, on my palms, and over me, and then that's basically it. I'm usually going about my day. If spirit do, if there is like a moment where spirit do kind of come through those protective walls, it can happen. I just firmly tell them to leave, and I will just, my camera cut out as I was speaking, but yeah, I usually tell the energies where to go and I call on my spirit guides to protect me again, and I just kind of do the same routine over and over. I'll sage and then I'll just imagine that energy kind of, you know, going over me. One thing that I like to do, I don't know whether you've ever watched Harry Potter, there's a scene in Harry Potter in the third movie where they have to face their fears, and then they, with their wands, they shout ridiculous, like they go ridiculous, like and whatever they're scared of gets turned into something funny. So for example, like I think Ron, he was scared of spiders, and then he shouted ridiculous with his wand, and then all of a sudden the spider had like all these rollerblades and it was like falling everywhere, and it was like funny and everyone was laughing. So sometimes I think of that scene, because when we think of laughter is a very light energy, it's a very high vibrational energy, and when these energies are trying to, like, you know, come to you at any point, they're not a very high vibrational energy. And if you're kind of like laughing it off and kind of like just sending that laughter, it kind of does discard it, I've found. So whenever I do feel like there's something like around me, or I just feel a bit I just like to imagine that scene, and I just kind of go ridiculous, you know what I mean? Like I imagine that scene from Harry Potter. I do that sometimes, and that's what I do. That's just like a little funny thing that I do, but that's what I do. I think laughter can kind of, is such a light energy, you know, so I do that. How did you learn the tarot card meanings? Did you intuitively read them at first, or did you wait to know each meaning? I keep looking online for meanings and I feel blocked if I don't. Yeah, well, I didn't have the book. I don't know whether you've seen the other question that I answered, but I didn't have the book. So I would basically have a journal and write everything that I felt from each tarot card. So if I'd attach a personal memory to each card. Do you know what I mean? I'd probably link a timestamp so you can watch what I said for the other one. A memory to each card, like of my own memory, and I would empathically feel what it made me feel, and I'd write it down. You know what I mean? And I would say just keep going. Do you know what I mean? Keep going, because even after years, there were still cards that I was like, I don't know, whenever I was reading for myself. And I never felt like confident to read for other people, because I was still referring back to my book that I'd created. And then when I started doing readings on other people, like years later, even though I was a bit like, I'd get stuck sometimes. When you're in front of somebody, you naturally are picking up on that energy, and then I wouldn't feel the need to go and like look back then, because I was like in the moment and trying to interpret it, and you know what I mean? So I felt like I was always getting stuck when I was reading for myself, but then when I was reading for other people, I was never having to go look back at my book, because I was just in that conversation with them and flowing, and it just came. So you might even be surprised, like you might think that you're having to refer back, but then when you're put on the spot to read for somebody else, you'll interpret it as what you're feeling anyway. That's what I found anyway. So let me know if that works. Just like randomly like challenge yourself to read for somebody and see how it comes out and what you're picking up energetically from the cards, because I more so intuitively read, mostly because that's how I fell onto tarot in the first place. How do you train your mind to let go of mental attachments other than meditation? Like when you understand the attachments and the roots, but your brain keeps recycling the same things. I get what you mean. Sometimes we can heal, let go of the emotion, but our mentality, we keep referring back. I completely understand what you're talking about. I hate when that happens. I've been doing it like recently. The last month I was doing it a lot. Sometimes the only thing that I would say, because I still do this sometimes, the only thing that I can say, as long as you know that it is just a mental attachment, because sometimes we still have emotions connected that we may need to cut a soul tie to, but if you truly believe that there's no emotions left and you're still having those mental attachments, the only thing that I found that can help that is discipline. Whenever you find yourself thinking about it, switch. You know what I mean? That is the only thing. Mindfulness. I know you said other than meditation, but just mindfulness, grounding in the moment and switching, disciplining and training your mind. That is the only thing that's had me release any attachments, because I'm such a fixed energy. I have so much fixed energy in my chart. So I'm like, when I'm fixed on something or I remember something, I always revert back to it, because I'm just that way, you know? But I've had to learn to discipline myself and be mindful and stop doing it, because there was no emotion left there. I just kept referring back to it, you know what I mean? So the only thing that has helped me there is discipline, mindfulness and discipline. That's the only advice I can really give there, because it's the only advice that I've kind of used, you know what I mean? Discipline in the mind. It's a hard thing to do, discipline in the mind, especially when you have a lot of air in your chart. It's very hard to do, very hard. So the next question: how to release emotions, insecurities, patterns, triggers, etc. Basically, could you share your process, rituals, guidance on releasing so that it is out of our system for good? Yeah, okay. When we look at like part of us from the past that we are still stuck on, emotions from the past that we are still stuck on, they're still stuck in our like kind of celestial body, they're still kind of stuck in our energetic makeup, and the only way that you can get out of a situation like that is to go through it. So the only way that you can release is to actually feel it. So you really want to follow the tie as to where this is coming from. Little example, I had a karmic loop with somebody. I was never in a relationship with them, but I had a karmic loop with someone for 4 years. It was like a love interest, and I always put a lot of my worth and my needs and everything aside for this person, put a lot of my worth in this person, and I just didn't understand why I did it, because I did it for every relationship, and I'm like, how do I let go of this? Because I didn't even know where it was coming from. I always thought it was tied to my dad, but I released a lot in regards to my dad, so I was like, where's this coming from? Because this is no longer abandonment issues, I don't have them. But I had to really feel the emotion that I was feeling, ask myself, question myself, why am I feeling this way? What is making me feel this way? Why do I feel like I need to overextend? Why do I feel like I need to people please with this person? Why am I allowing this person to call the shots? Why am I giving my power away to this person? I had to ask myself, and get deep and cry and get it all out and cry. And I ended up following the pattern all the way through to, the first time that I can ever remember doing it. And it came from my childhood, with my mother. I never really had like the best, healthiest relationship with my mother, because she had like substance abuse issues and whatnot. And I had to really feel those feelings and those emotions of what caused me to people please. You know what I mean? And that's basically shadow work. It's basically shadow work. I would recommend watching my shadow work video if you haven't already. But what I would do was I would follow where this was coming from, which is usually childhood. Whenever we're repeating emotions, it's coming from our childhood. And I would say to either visualize your childhood self in front of you, or write a letter to yourself. And whatever it is that you're holding on to in regards to your emotions or whatever, and you want to let go of it, write a letter to that version of yourself and thank that version for not knowing any better when they were doing the pattern that you're still doing now, because they were only protecting you. But really feel those emotions and let out everything that you're feeling and why you're feeling it and what is happening. Let go, forgive whoever you need to forgive in that moment, even if it's yourself. Note every feeling that you're feeling and sit with it and let it go and release it, and tell yourself, I don't need this emotion anymore, it doesn't serve its purpose anymore, and really release it. What I like to do is write everything down on a piece of paper like a letter to somebody, and once I poured every feeling that I feel, I like to burn it and watch the smoke go. I like to do that on a full moon, and that helps me release. But the best way to release a lot of unwanted energies that you have is shadow work. And I have a video of that on my channel, so I definitely would say go watch the shadow work video, because that is how I've let go of a lot of my wounds, by completely addressing them dead on, even when it hurt, and really feeling them and allowing them to come out, whether I spoke them out loud and I cried, whether I wrote them in a note and I burned it. I let myself cry all that I wanted. And sometimes you may find when you're releasing them, when you're doing shadow work, you may purge, as in like actually be sick or something like that. You might end up doing that. That's what happens with me sometimes if I'm doing something really deep and it's been in my body for a while. The energy comes up to purge, or you may just be really tired, or you may just go through a little period where you're feeling a little bit low as it comes out of your body. But shadow work is the best way to get rid of these feelings. So I definitely would tell you to do some shadow work, and I have a lot of advice for that on my shadow work video. What advice would you give to someone who would like to read their own tarot? Stay open. Like I said on one of the other questions, get a journal and write down everything that the cards are making you feel. Analyze them, pick up what you're feeling, and just read, you know what I mean? Even like looking at it with a beginner's mind, even if you feel like you've learned a lot about tarot and you don't need to go watch a beginner's guide, even just watching a beginner's guide and hearing what other people's interpretations are can help, you know what I mean? So there isn't really like a limit in regards to tarot. It's very, I would get yourself a little journal, and write how every card makes you feel, and analyze the card. What's in the background? How does that person look? You know, the number, the numerology side of it, you know, the number 7, the number 6, you know, look at it and really empathically connect to it and write your own version of what you think the card means. Because sometimes the thing is about tarot decks, they have their own personality because they have their own energy. And what may come up as one card to you will come up as a different card to someone else. Sometimes if I've watched a bigger card, I've seen somebody say, oh, you read this card, but that isn't what it means. But, you know, we can add our own interpretations to it too, because our deck responds to our own personality and how we read. So, you know, you can read books and whatever, but I would definitely say to empathically connect your own emotions and memories and what you believe that card is to you, to the cards as well. That's what I would say. That's like the biggest tip that I would say to any tarot reader. I will at one point do a tutorial, not a tutorial, but I'll do a how to learn tarot video. I've already started like thinking about doing it, so I'll do like the major arcana, talk through the major arcana and what I pick up from the major arcana and how to read that, and then I'll go through the wands, the swords in other videos. But I'm thinking of doing that, so let me know if you'd like me to do that, because I would love to help anyone learning tarot, because I love tarot. The next question: awakening is a journey and not a single moment, right? It takes time to complete the whole awakening, literally day by day, little by little, right? Yes, completely yes. I feel like when we look at somebody who starts to awaken at whatever time, there's no, like I said at the beginning of the video, which was a while ago now because I've talked for ages, there's no beginning and there's no end. So when we start to awake, we just start to awake to ourselves, and that is an unraveling. And the unraveling it's always unraveling. The whole life is a spiritual journey. But we can go through many ascensions. I think sometimes people get that a bit mixed up. Even sometimes I will say, just out of like autopilot, oh, I'm on my 3rd spiritual awakening. Sometimes I'll just say that. But you only really have one spiritual awakening, but you'll have many ascensions. Once you've reached all there is to know in a certain energy field, you'll then ascend further. And again, but yeah, it's the awakening, it's a process. You're completely right there. It's always unraveling. So you're completely right. Yeah, I don't know whether you're familiar with the spiritual symbol of the spiral. The middle is the ego, and then as it goes out and out, it's the spirit, the soul, and that's basically what we're doing our whole life. We're unraveling like that spiritual spiral. That's what we're doing. So yeah, you're completely dead on with that one. The next question: hi Miss Lexi, can I ask, what is the meaning of my dreams where something is falling from the sky with light, and when I look at him he wore a black outfit but no face? I'm not afraid, but it's so weird. He tried to talk to me, but I don't know what happens afterwards. Hope you read it. Thanks, Lexi. What is the meaning of the dream? When I look at him, he wore a black outfit with no face. I'm not afraid, but it's so weird. That could be a spirit guide trying to contact you. I'm not gonna lie. Especially if you're having very vivid dreams like this, especially if they're reoccurring, there's probably a message there. But even just like, I would say with your dreams, stay very open-minded to them. Like even in regards to the colours, the symbols that you're seeing, how you felt in the dream, really tap into that and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people have dreams with water or like any element of water that connects to our emotions. So anytime you have a dream about like ice, snow, water, lake, sea, you know, I have a lot of dreams with tsunamis. It's to do with our emotions. You know what I mean? So with that being said, falling from the sky with light sounds a little bit like an angel or a spirit guide to me. That's what I would say personally. And when I look at him, he wore a black outfit but no face. I'm not afraid, but it's so weird. It could have been a spirit guide trying to contact you. It could have been a spirit guide. I would say maybe meditate and see if any messages come through, or see what happens, or maybe speak to spirit guides before you go to sleep and see if they can elaborate with you in another dream. That's what I do sometimes. If I didn't get what I wanted from the dream, I'll ask spirit to elaborate the next night. So maybe do that and see what else comes through. But with the white light around it, it does sound a little bit like a spirit guide. Is there a way to predict timing in tarot? Yeah. Yes. But I sometimes don't like to, especially when I'm doing general readings as well, say a time frame. I like a time frame. Spirit will give me a time frame. Sometimes dates will have a significance and will come through, But the thing is that the future isn't set in stone. All that is concrete is right now. And although certain things are fated, the more far out we go, when we're trying to predict more far out, timelines are shifting and timelines are changing all the time because we all have our own free will. So yes, you can predict the timing, but it's not always going to be 100% accurate. There's no way to know. Sometimes you can have something completely accurate. Sometimes, like, I've spoken to a psychic before and they said this is going to happen on the like 12th or something like that, and it's genuinely happened. But I would say at least anything after 6 months, I would say the further out you go, it's less likely to predict the timing because we are always shifting. Every year I like to use a tarot card to describe every month to see if I can have any indication, and usually each tarot card is so correct until I get to around August, July, August, and that's when the tarot cards start to not make sense because I would have shifted through timelines and made different decisions by that time, so the cards no longer fit where I'm at, but they would have been completely accurate until a certain point, and it's usually around the 6 month mark, and then they start to go a little bit, you know, like haywire a bit, you know what I mean? So the further out you go, the less likely you're going to be able to predict that timing. How did you get into tarot? How did you get all your knowledge? Super talented, love your banter and vids, good contact to fellow Leo here. Leo gang, yes, thank you very much, thank you very much. How did I get into tarot and how did I get all my knowledge? Well, tarot called me. My mother had a tarot deck and it just kind of called me. I was always looking for answers since I was a kid, so tarot just called me. It just called me from when I was young. And then in regards to how I got my knowledge, like a lot of my wisdom, I would just talk with spirit all the time, because I was like a lone wolf, so I'd always talk with spirit. But yeah, that's basically where I got all my knowledge from, unless I was learning astrology or whatnot, and then I'd like learn online, or I'd like find books, hidden gems here and there, and that's how I would learn astrology and everything like that. So yeah, it's just kind of like life's just taught me a lot. I'm only 23, so it's a bit weird to say, but I've been through a lot in 23 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been through a lot and I've shifted a lot, so my wisdom from experiencing a lot of difficulties, it's kind of given me a lot of wisdom. That's why I don't like regret anything that I've been through. So the next card, you can tell how much I read tarot. The next question. Hello love, hey. Q&A sounds fun. I've been an intuitive myself the past several years and doing professional readings. My question is, how did you know you wanted to do YouTube? Why? Been thinking of starting a channel for a while and would like to hear what inspired you to venture into this territory. Thank you for all you do and happy new year. Happy new year to you too, and thank you for supporting my channel. Well, what got me into doing YouTube, I always wanted to bring my gifts out there, but I never knew why. Like I said, I didn't know that there was a spiritual community. I didn't know anything like that. I had no idea how I was going to bring my gifts out there. And people always used to say to me, like, oh my god, you should do a YouTube because your story times are really funny. You know, like people do story times on YouTube. I've had a lot of crazy things happen in my life, and everyone would be like, you'd be so good as like a story time person on YouTube. And I was like, yeah, I really would. And I always thought about it, but I never went with it because I never thought of meshing spirituality with the internet. I never thought of doing it. And then when it wasn't even long ago, it was like 2 years ago, I didn't watch a lot of spirituality things on YouTube or anything like that. Like, I didn't watch a lot. And I came across Stargirl, the Practical Witch's Pick a Card. And it was at a time where I was like, I learned everything that I needed to know to get my gifts out there, but I had no idea how to get them out. You know what I mean? Do I travel and just read for random people I meet? Do I, you know what I mean? What do I do? Where do I find a community where I can give my gifts to people? I had no idea. I fell on Stargirl the Practical Witch's video for a pick a card, and if I remember correctly, it was something like, where will you be a year from now? Where will you be 3 years from now? Where will you be 5 years from now? Something like that. And she said, I see you online, bringing your gift online. You are connected to spirit and you're going to go into professions of spirit, you like working with spirit, but I see you doing it online. I see you doing it here on YouTube or something like that. And then that's when the light bulb went off and my spirit guides were like, she's finally got it, like she understands. I can imagine my spirit guides were like, yes, look, she gets it. Like I can imagine them all like, yay, she's finally got it, because there were clues that I should have been doing YouTube, you know what I mean? I have a stellium and Aquarius. I knew something was going to happen online for me, but I didn't know what, and I just never thought of bringing them together. And when that light bulb finally hit, so Stargirl the Practical Witch, if you ever watched this, thank you very much. My spirit guides are probably very thankful to you too, because they were sending me down that route for a while. I just never clicked. So yeah, that video in itself made me click, and I was like, oh my god, I can reach so many people online. Why have I never not thought of this? And it took me a little while to gear up the courage, because I was working on like self-love and whatnot at the time. And then I just took the leap and I brought myself to YouTube. It's just really rewarding. Like it's just, I'm so glad I did it, you know what I mean? It makes me really happy. So I would definitely like do it. If you're thinking about it, just do it. Do it. We need more light workers doing this, you know what I mean? Like I encourage everybody to get on YouTube and share that, you know, we need lights like you. So yes, do it, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna keep saying it. Do it. Do you think intuition and connection to spirit can manifest physically, like twitches, etc.? Thanks. Yes, definitely. I always used to get like vibrations on my third eye. I would feel that very strongly. Sometimes I would get pins and needles on my arm when spirit were closer, if they were holding me or touching me. You can get twitches as well. Sometimes like if I was getting a message from spirit, I'd end up speaking it. Like I wouldn't go to speak it, it would just come out. Like I would just sit there and I'd be like, I remember one time I was like, what crystal would help me protect myself one time before I had black tourmaline, and I randomly just blurted out black tourmaline, as if like spirit were talking through me, but it kind of took control of my mouth in a way, and I just went black tourmaline instead of it just coming through spiritually. So yeah, of course, like, you know, I even just like lights flickering and things like that, spirit can kind of have that happen too. And you know, you can get like electric shock, static energy, things like that. Especially if spirit are doing like Reiki and helping you do Reiki, you can feel that energy in your chakras and things as well. So yeah, definitely it can manifest physically. How do you know if you are being channeled by somebody? Have I ever been channeled by somebody? I don't know whether I've ever picked up if somebody's channeled me, but I've picked up when people have thought about me, even when it was like a negative emotion. One time I felt like low, like randomly, and I was like, why do I feel low? And I knew that it wasn't my feeling, because I've come very susceptible to what's me and what's not. And I started seeing the evil eye, and I was like, oh, somebody's thinking negatively of me. And the person that was thinking negatively of me, their full name appeared in my mind's eye, and I was just like, why are they, you know, I hadn't done anything to this person. It was like an old friend that we just kind of like drifted apart. And when I didn't have this person on my Instagram or anything, and then when I went onto Instagram, I clicked my story because I had a post up, and she didn't have me on Instagram or anything like that, but I looked and she'd actually watched my story. And the story had only gone up like 30 minutes prior, so she would have been thinking about me in that moment. So her name came to my mind and I felt that feeling. So if you feel any feeling, you know, whether it's like a negative feeling or you just feel like something isn't your thought or something isn't your vibration in a way, then that could probably be like some sort of interference. I feel like human beings do that anyway. Like, you know, I'd be sitting there walking around and I'll randomly think of something, and then somebody will say it and it wasn't my thought. I was just picking up on somebody else's thought process. I find that I do that a lot, and you'll probably find you do that too. So it's just being aware of what thoughts yours and what thoughts not yours can really help you see what really is, you know, your energy or somebody else's. I have been told by others that my light is very bright and souls gravitate to it only to find me. Lol. What is this light? Is it just my aura, and why is it so bright? That is 100% your aura. That is your higher self coming through. When you have a bright light, it's because the divine's working through you, you know what I mean? And divine's working through us all, but you're probably more susceptible to it, you know what I mean? A lot of light workers, a lot of people with a lot of gifts, they'll have like a bright light, you know what I mean? And spirits can kind of get attracted to that, like a moth to a flame. So you probably had paranormal experiences. That used to happen in my childhood. I used to try and bury it, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be connected at that point. It really frightened me, and I'd like have things chucked around and move just to get my attention. So you probably have that sometimes, or you know, glitches in your you know, internet and your phone and your TV, or like bulbs or whatever. You may find that, but it's just your aura. You probably, you know, are very connected to your light and your higher self, and that's what's radiating off you. So that's beautiful. You also asked, how does one open their energy to receive light messages without letting in the dark? Okay, look after yourself, ground yourself, and make sure you're protecting yourself, and call on your spirit guides and get to know your spirit guides. You know, ask your spirit guides what their name are, and then be open to it. I remember asking what one of my ancestors was called, she was a gypsy, and she would come through as an image, and I never knew her name. And then I saw a magpie, and then all of a sudden I saw this woman's name, and I was like, your name is Magpie. And then Magdalene came through very strong, and I was like, ooh, okay. And all of a sudden, like, I just knew her name, Magdalene, and that kind of came through. So with that being said, try and contact spirit and ask for their name, to like know that they're around, so that you have a name to call on, you know what I mean? Or you can work with like particular deities if they do come to you, if you feel like it. I always ask Ganesha to protect me the most. Ganesha and Goddess Kali, they came to me. Ganesha came to me when I was quite young. Kali only came to me last year. For those of you who don't know who Goddess Kali is, she's a Hindu goddess. She came to me last year, so I'll just call on particular spirit guides, or you can just call on Archangel Michael to protect you before you go into any practices of opening your mind's eye. Maybe get some nice protective crystals on you too. Black tourmaline is my favorite, but you can get like black obsidian, clear quartz, shungite, selenite, you know, crystals like that to really protect you as well. And I like to burn bay leaves. I like to burn bay leaves because they help protect as well and cleanse the space. So just make sure that you're doing little protection rituals, and call on your spirit guides to be around you so you can feel their presence. Your spirit guides are like your little gatekeepers, you know what I mean? They're not going to let anything come in to harm you. Just stay in your light, you know what I mean? And maybe just connect with your spirit guides first. I always tell my spirit guides, if anyone does want to channel me, if anyone wants to come through to me, they have to go through my spirit guides first. And I always say that out loud every morning. If any spirit wants to message me, you know, you've got to put in boundaries and just say them out loud. You have to go through my spirit guides and have their permission first. And I don't like to have or see spirit at night time. I don't like to see spirit in the dark. So I always say when the sun sets, that's when mediumship or anything like that stops. You know what I mean? I only want clairaudient or clairvoyancy. I don't want to see anything beyond that point. And that's, you know, they listen to that. I always call and protect myself with that. So just put in your boundaries. You'll be fine. There's nothing to fear, you know. And one more, how can I cleanse my home without removing a loved one? Okay, what you want to do is sage your room. And I know, you know, when you're saging a room, you're saging out a lot of energy. So you could be saging out, you know, like energies, like you said, maybe a loved one. But what you want to do after you've saged, first of all, set the intention with your saging and say, you know, only unwanted energies are to be removed, only lingering energies that I want to be removed. But if you are worried about, you know, sending out like a loved one that's passed on, burn something sweet afterwards. So once you've saged, say now you're using desert sage and you've saged your room, once you've saged, to keep the energy of spirit around you, you know, your loved ones and your ancestors and whatnot, they'll be around you anyway. But burn something like lavender, burn something like rosemary, something like that. Just like burn it in a little, I have a little cauldron currently. I'll get one of them shells. I can't remember the name of the shells. I'm not gonna go grab it because it's like all the way down there, but just get like a little shell. You can get one from the beach, or just get like them little witchy cauldrons that you can buy. They're usually about £20 UK price, or £15 I think they are on Mystic Wolf. And just burn some lavender, get some dried lavender or rosemary, and burn some, and that sweet energy will welcome you know, your spirit guides. And your spirit guides will always be around, but your loved ones back in, you know what I mean, if you're worried about that. That's what I do. Have you ever felt like you never fit in this world? Yes, all the time. Like I just always, you know, I always saw things just really differently, and I like what people liked I never really cared for. Like in school, everyone was like they liked stuff that was like older. Like they used to watch like 90210 and like Glee and like all those things, and I like Doctor Who, you know what I mean? Like I like Doctor Who and Torchwood and like sci-fi programs with space. I just never really fit in, but I pretend that I liked certain things, but I didn't. And then I went through a phase then where I was like kind of like a lone wolf for a little bit, and then when I had like a big group of friends, they, you know, like when I went into beauty therapy, they were like makeup and fake tan and extensions and Kim Kardashian, and it was like, oh, let me put on a mask. So I wore a mask for a little bit. I was struggling with my self-worth at the time, but like I kept my spirituality very hidden for like a certain period of my life, especially from the friends that I had when I was like 18, 19. I kept it very hidden because they'd kind of like mock me and like put me down. I had a friend that really put me down because, especially when I went into beauty therapy, all the other people like around me, you know, they were like teens, they were like 16, 17. They all kind of came from like privileged backgrounds, or like backgrounds where they didn't really have to go through a lot of painful experiences. Like they all they either had like their parents were still together and nothing really happened at home, or you know, they were very wealthy or like had money and were really looked after like that, or they had at least had like one parent to like fall back on or something like that. I didn't really have that growing up, and I had like one friend who knew little things that I'd been through and would very much make digs and put me down, especially about my mother, you know, being ill and stuff, and really trying like poke into me a bit about that and put me down to other people. And I was always very out there, like outfits that I'd wore, and she kind of put me down for that. And I was, you know, experimenting with makeup at the time. I always liked to do like, you know, bright eyeshadows and things, and she would like really make fun of me for it. Really toyed with my self-worth when I was going through a period of like not fitting in, you know what I mean? So I always went through that. So to anyone that like does go through that, what brought me back to myself and what made me feel confident was really embracing, you know, everything that I am now, you know what I mean, and my gifts and my spirituality and all of that, you know what I mean? I'm not here to fit in at all, you know what I mean? And I'm an Aquarius stellium, for God's sake. I'm not here to fit in. Like, I just see things very differently, and I just never really cared for a lot of like shallow conversations, so I would kind of try and keep myself small and fit in. And I remember creating like a little avatar of how to act, and I kind of thought that if I created like a funny, silly character to play around the people that I was around at that time, I would be keeping myself small, and it would protect me and who I was and my spirituality, because I didn't want anyone talking bad about it, because it was sacred to me. So I kind of like played a bit of a role. I remember watching Friends, and I thought if I can just be funny and cute like Joey from Friends, people will not really second guess me. And the thing is, when you're extremely intuitive, by telling people you're extremely intuitive, people know to move shady around you. But if you act none the wiser and dumb, I learned at that age, because I was adapting to survive in that environment, I guess, I learned that people are very lazy with how they're messing you around and talking about you. So it got to a point where people were really overstepping boundaries and doing shady things right in front of me, thinking that I was none the wiser, but I was watching everything, you know what I mean? Until it was time to, and I know it sounds weird to take that mask off, that sounds a bit negative, but until it was time to kind of let go of that kind of character and come into my own. The minute I started to do that, a lot of people had a problem with it, because a lot of people, you know, was overstepping boundaries and enjoying it. And then when I started to kind of come through as myself and be unapologetically myself and shine as myself, people had a problem with it. But what I found was, you know, tapping back to myself and tapping back to who I was and not being ashamed of who I was or anything like that, that brought in more like-minded individuals. My friend Sam that I have now, he very much sees things like me. Like, he sees everything the same as me, and we kind of fell back very close onto each other's path. We were already on each other's path, but me embracing myself, him then embracing his self, we started doing it around the same time, and we like zapped together, you know. And I just, anyone that feels like they don't fit in, don't try and fit in. Keep standing out, and the right people will fall onto your path I promise. You know what I mean? I promise. There's probably a lot more people out there like you than you think. Just coming onto YouTube and seeing how many of you are just like me, you know, just reading these questions, I'm like, yes, you know, you're part of like the soul tribe, you know what I mean? Soul family. So there are people like you out there, so don't ever feel like you're not. Because even if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I feel a bit weird because my spirituality, I'm your friend and I'm here, so you're not alone. Next question. Are our spirit guides always right, or can they be wrong sometimes? Can they be wrong? No. I'm gonna say that with confidence. No. Spirit sees what we don't see. Spirit sees what we don't see. So Spirit's always going to guide us in the right direction that is right for our path. But we signed up in this lifetime to go through certain karmic experiences and karmic relationships. So if something is supposed to happen for our soul's growth, we are going to naturally step into that anyway because we chose to in this lifetime. Spirit are not allowed to interfere and tell you not to. They're not allowed. They're literally not allowed. They're not allowed to tamper with our free will and what we're learning on a certain path if that's what our soul truly needs in that moment. So it could maybe sometimes seem that, oh my god, like I've never had an experience where spirit have told me to do anything negative. You know what I mean? I've never had that. I've never heard of that either. Spirit will always guide you down the right path. You know what I mean? Because they see what's best for you. You know what I mean? Next question. Why do I sing it? My spiritual awakening started very recently, and the first time my third eye opened was last November while I was having a lucid dream. Before that, I was binge watching your old videos. A woman was with me at first. I thought it was you, but she looked different. I'm very scared of the thought of my third eye opening because I had a bad experience with elementals. I would like to continue my journey though, so how will I protect myself from such and low energies in general? Like I answered the last question, I would say to call on your spirit guides, because you are always divinely protected anyway, but definitely call on your spirit guides before you begin to do anything. When I first opened my third eye and I set out to do it, I called on my spirit guides to protect me. I didn't have Florida water because I didn't know what it was at the time, but I made my own blessed water. I manifested over the water with my hands and I blessed the water and I like sprinkled it over me. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And I just like laid there and I called on my spirit guides to help me and protect me when I first started opening my third eye. So call on spirit, but definitely have some crystals of protection on you too. So maybe get some like black tourmaline, selenite, clear quartz, anything that you're being called to. Maybe look into some protective crystals and keep them on you, but always call your spirit guides. They'll always protect you. And also if you're working with any deities or any deities have come to you, call on them too. They will protect you, especially Archangel Michael. I like to call on him a lot. Archangel Michael. How do you know if someone's manifesting you? I feel like it's, how can I explain it? Because it's a feeling. It's hard for me to put feelings and get into words. You know that they're thinking about you. You know that they're bringing you in, like you know that there's someone, like for example, my whole life, I don't know whether this is a twin flame, I never actually said this before, oh my god, you guys like really my friends, and I'm telling you something. My whole life I never really connected with people, and even in relationships they were always quite shallow, they were karmic, and I always had to kind of dim my light a bit. But my whole life I always had a thought of a relationship in my mind that when I've done past life regressions, the energy feels very much like a male that was with me in other past lives. And I always imagine like a male, it just comes into my mind. And I don't manifest love because I'm an Aquarius moon. I don't really look for stuff like that. I'm not really like that. But I've always had this feeling of somebody there coming in that is very much on my wavelength. And to be honest with you, it gets stronger and stronger. So I feel like that may be like a kind of, I don't know whether that's my foresight or whether that's somebody manifesting me in, you know, I'm somebody's soulmate and they're manifesting me in. That's how I see it, you know what I mean? But sometimes people manifest you in like exes, don't they? And I know because I have them on my mind, and I do a lot of work to let go of a lot of people, you know, from my past. I'm always ever changing, so when somebody crops into your mind, you'll probably know that they're trying to manifest you in, especially when you can like differ from what's your thought and what somebody else's thought. How to know that I met my twin flame? I don't really like to talk about this too much, just because I've never met a twin flame, and I only like to pull from experience. And because I've never cared too much about relationships, twin flames isn't something that I've ever asked spirit about. But because I think there's another question about twin flames on here as well. I will actually make a note when I'm editing this. So Lexi, when you're watching this, write this down. I will ask spirit about twin flames and what spirit can tell me about twin flames, and I'll do a video on it for you, because I don't want to say anything right now because I've never looked into it too much, and I have never met a twin flame, and I only like to talk from experience. So I'll wait to see what spirit tell me about it, and I will put it in a video. I've never asked before, so this is something new that I'm asking spirit, but I will ask. Because I do believe in it, because sometimes when I do readings for you guys, spirits show me flames and they kind of encourage me, like twin flames, so it's definitely real. Like, I believe that, you know. But I don't know how to differ from it, because I've only had karmic relationships and soulmates. I've never had a twin flame, I don't believe, anyway. So I will ask spirit, and I promise I will make a video. I'll write it down now, and I will I'll write it down when I'm editing, and I'll make a video for you. I will do that. Do you experience seeing numbers and synchronicities, and if so, what was your response to it? Yeah, when I first started waking up, I saw 11 all the time. I started seeing anything affiliated with Buddhism at first, and then when I started meditating, I kind of followed the white rabbit and started getting into that religion, and then I was having past life memories and whatnot. Then I started seeing angel numbers. 1111 was the first one. I saw it everywhere. I see angel numbers all the time. The number I'm seeing very frequently, there's 3 numbers I'm seeing very frequently. So I see 17. I've been seeing 17 all the time for about 2 years. And then since about August, when I started going through my Kundalini awakening, I was seeing 1010. And I still see 1010. I saw it this morning, I saw it last night. And since January, I've been seeing 333. I used to see it before, and then I stopped, and I'm seeing 333. So what I like to do is I like to research what that number means. I like to tap in, I like to ask spirit what they mean by showing me that, and I like to look at the numerology side of it as well. So for example, I'm seeing 333. 3 is ruled by Jupiter, and that's expansion. And obviously 3 and 3 is like 6, and that's my soul age number. So I always think of my soul age and my mission, which is, you know, healing people through the heart. So I like to correlate with numerology and things. But I have like synchronicities in like animals, you know, when my spirit animal starts to change, or there's an animal totem, I'll get synchronicities of that animal and things like that. I've been seeing the infinity symbol a lot since June of last year. Or was it April? Sorry. I've been seeing the infinity symbol a lot. I'm also seeing a lot of geometrical shapes a lot following me everywhere at the moment. So yeah, I see a lot, but I just like to research, and I like to bring it back to spirit and ask what they mean by it, you know what I mean? Can you share the story of you coming to realize your gift, and what was your response to it? How were you sure? I'll do a video on my whole spiritual awakening, like I said, but how was I sure? I never was entirely sure. I just opened my mind. I've always been somebody that's just been open to anything. You know what I mean? When everyone was like, mermaids aren't real, I was like, yeah, but how do you know that they're not real? Like, I was always like, the glass is half full. You know what I mean? How do you know mermaids aren't real? How do you know fairies aren't real? How do you know? So I would always like question everybody else's disbelief. So with my gift, it was like, I just followed my intuition. I followed my intuition my whole life. So I would just kind of like follow it and just believe in my gifts, you know what I mean? And I'd ask spirit for confirmation too. I would ask spirit if I felt a bit like, oh, I don't know. I'd ask spirit for confirmation. And spirit would always give me concrete physical world confirmation, whether it was an angel number or something falling onto my path or somebody mentioning something to me. I would always have that confirmation. do you believe in spiritual timing? As in, if you ask a spiritual question and the cards give you a bunch of choices for one, do you believe it can be an accurate estimation? Also, much love, your readings are always on point. Thank you. Yes. Like I said in the other question, where am I? I've lost it. There we go. Like I said in the other question, yes, I do feel like we can predict timing, but the further out that we go, it's going to shift. You know what I mean? Like, if I could maybe predict something for somebody if you asked me something within the week. Like, okay, if one person came to me and said, you know, would this happen, I maybe could tap into spirit, and if spirit allowed me to, I would say a particular time or day or date or something like that. But I try to stay away from dates too much and just give a timeline, because in this world, everybody's free will. We're always shifting and changing, and you know what I mean, changing our realities up. So I try to not get too specific, because it can always change. I like to give time frames, that way it's more accurate. So yeah, but I do think you can, because I have before, you know what I mean. How will I know if my twin flame returns? He finally is going to stay and do the work, versus it being an endless loop of tragedy. This is, I'm gonna brush my hair while I speak. We're cool like that now, aren't we? We're friends. Basically, when I first started learning about twin flames, I was, and it's still a thing where I go back and forth on, because sometimes I've read comments on other people's videos, not mine, where people are like, my twin flames been married for 6 years and I'm waiting for them to come back and heal and be with me. But one thing that I have, you know, researched about twin flames, and it does resonate with me, is it can take lifetimes to really link up with a twin flame, and who's to say that somebody's really going to heal in this lifetime? We don't know. So my only advice to you there is to not wait for anybody. If somebody isn't healing or doing the work, keep moving forward, because you may be blocking other connections. And I would also say, if somebody's disrespecting you or hurting you or continuously going in a loop, that cycle needs to be broken in some sort of way. For example, I went around for 4 years in a loop with somebody that just disrespected me continuously, until I realized that I was just being, you know, I was just seeing the light in them and they didn't really deserve me, and I finally broke out of that loop and freed myself from it. So I would just make sure that you're not being disrespected by somebody, and if there's something that is continuously happening, I would maybe step away out of that cycle. You know what I mean? Because I don't want anyone being disrespected or hurt just because of the word twin flame. You know what I mean? I'll do a video and I'll elaborate on what spirit is telling me about twin flames, but that, when I hear people say that they're waiting for somebody, or, you know, they want to give somebody like the 10th chance or the 9th chance or whatever, it's like, if something's happened continuously, it's a cycle that needs to be broken, and I don't want anybody getting hurt or waiting for anybody. So please listen to your intuition with that one. God, this is a long video. Why are we sometimes guided to do things that don't work out? How can we build our confidence if spirit is jerking us around? Spirit will never jerk you around. Spirit aren't gonna jerk you around. Like I said earlier, sometimes we have to go through certain experiences to learn. We come here to go through karmic relationships, karmic situations, to learn and evolve on a soul level. So sometimes we go through things that might not be that pleasant, but it was for us to evolve, you know? That was why. So spirit can't intervene and tell you not to get into a karmic relationship or whatnot, because you would have soul contracted. You have a soul contract when you come down to go through certain experiences. They're not allowed to intervene. They're not allowed to play with free will at all. They can only give guidance. But spirit will never jerk you around. You know, just listen to your intuition with everything. But I promise you, spirit don't. Your spirit guides won't jerk you around. Can you tell if somebody has a yard in their chart? I can, but I'm going to do a whole video on it. To see if somebody has the finger of God in that chart, it's like very complex, and this video is like very long, so I'm going to be going through astrology anyway. I know I'm at the very basics of astrology right now, but I'll be going through it deeper and deeper, and I will do a video on it one time. So stay tuned for that. I will do a video on that. How do you know what your life mission is? I've been told it's huge and important, but I feel lost and don't have any more confidence. There's a quote, and I think it's by Rumi, and it says not to look for your life mission or your soul purpose, but just do what's in your heart and soul anyway, and you'll fall into alignment and find your soul purpose. Don't try to be, just become. So that's the advice I'd give you, that don't try and look that and feel like you have to be doing this and that. Just allow things to fall onto your path, you know what I mean? Because even having a life purpose, like, I don't know everything that I'm supposed to be doing in this life. I take it day by day, you know what I mean? I just tap into my heart and see what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment and where I'd like to go, but it can shift and it'll change, you know, as you ascend. So just give everything time and just listen to your heart and where you want to go, what perks your interest. You know, does astrology, does Reiki, does tarot, you know, anything, dancing, you know, anything like that. Just follow like your soul, follow your heart, and I promise everything will fall into place. Or maybe just if you do want a little bit of direction, call on your spirit guides. And if you don't, you know, feel like you can connect to them too much through meditation, ask them to come through to you in dreams. Ask them to show you some symbolism in dreams. The next question, how can us regular folks access our Akashic records? We can all access our Akashic records. What our Akashic records are, everything has an Akashic records. Your animals have an Akashic records, your house has an Akashic records, your soul has an Akashic records. And it's who you are at your soul origins, who you are. And while living it out in this life, when you look at what lights your soul up, you know, when you do past life regressions, you know, when you learn astrology, you learn about yourself through astrology. Just looking at your south node in astrology, you can kind of unlock certain parts of your Akashic records where your south node sits. I'll be doing a video on that soon on astrology. But it's just finding out about yourself, you know what I mean? You can go to psychics and readers. There's some readers that will actually do Akashic record readings, and one day I hope to do that too. But it's more just looking at what you're drawn to, and that in itself helps you realize who you are on a soul level. So even with that, I would say not to necessarily look, but just allow things to fall into place. Or maybe get a reading, get a past life reading or something like that. But I've always tapped into and looked deeper into my Akashic records by looking at any means of philosophies to kind of understand myself, or spirituality to understand myself, like palmistry, numerology, astrology, you know, all of that, and finding out all the different layers, and that kind of triggered visions and past life memories to come through as well. So take your time. The next question, I need advice on how not to doubt my spiritual journey. I just found out about this world that I'm life path 33. Cool, I like master numbers, but I feel like it's too good to be true. Like, the signs are clearly there since I was a kid, and through tarot I've been getting enough tips from spirit guides, but I tend to overthink and put myself down, which leads me to question this new spiritual me that I'm so excited for. I doubt myself because I think it's too good to be true, but deep down I know I'm meant for this, even from the age of 5 or so. I said this a few times, so I'll say it again as advice for you. Don't try to be, just become. That way you don't doubt. You doubt when you compare. When you look at people and you're like, I should be there, I should be at this point, I should be at that point. Spiritual awakening isn't becoming anyone new, it's remembering who we are. So you're already who you're trying to be, and you're already who you're destined to be. You're already there. So I would say have times in silence and solitude of meditating on, you know, connecting to your heart and what lights you up. Maybe keep a journal. And tap into what lights you up. Do not compare. The only thing about spirituality becoming mainstream at the moment is, you know, we're comparing. You know, people are comparing of where somebody is on their journey or whatnot, and no one's above or below. There's no such thing. There's no end and there's no beginning. You know, it's a process. It's a process. So yeah, just stay open. stay open and don't put any expectations on yourself or your abilities or where you're gonna go. Just live in the now and trust yourself now, and remember you're already who you are wanting to become. You're already them, you know. It's just a case of unraveling, and unraveling is just letting go of the ego constructs. That's the advice I'm gonna give. So how to protect ourselves and not be influenced by other people's energies and actions. When I protect myself, like I said, I like to use a netted cloth over my head, like a little black cloth. So if I'm in a place where there's people that I feel are going to drain my energy, I like to imagine that I'm speaking to them under this cloth. So I'll stand there and I'll visualize that I'm looking at them through a net. I don't know why I do that, but it works. Like, it does work. But I would say the power of crystals really help. And I would say in the morning, when I sage, you know, like other people, their thoughts, they're an energy that can be sent to you. So what I do is when I sage and I ask, you know, when I ask Kali, when I ask Nisha, when I ask Archangel Michael and everybody to protect me, I circle the sage around my head 3 times, and 3 times I say, any negative words, thoughts and energies that are sent towards me are to be returned to the sender ×3. And I say that 3 times, and I imagine like a spiral going around my body. So any words or thoughts that anyone will try and send to me throughout the day, they will not come into my energetic frequency, and they will bounce back. It's like a boomerang spell. They'll bounce back to the sender. And sometimes I'll do that throughout the day as well. I'll just like affirmation, like say it out loud. Any negative words, thoughts and energy sent towards me are to be returned to the sender ×3. And I'll say it again. That's what I do. That's what I like to do to make sure no one's evil eye is coming at me. Being in spirituality, how do you deal with naysayers? And generally too, I just don't, you know, I just don't think about it. I try to stay off social media. Like, I'll post, but I don't scroll through social media. I don't look, you know. I've had people comment on some of my cards, like pick a card sometimes, like, oh my god, this is like so fake, you know. Like, people that just aren't into it, you know what I mean? I'm more into the divine masculine, they're not into it. That's cool. But the thing is, we have to respect people's opinions as well, because for some people they're just not meant to be like maybe awake in this lifetime. Maybe they chose to stay in the more 3D world in this lifetime, and that's okay. We kind of have to respect that. But obviously, you know, sometimes people can just like not respect you with it and try and say things, but I just let it go over my head. Like, I just imagine the opinion going over my head, because people can only understand from their own level of perception, and to reach a certain level of perception we have to do, you know, certain inner work, or we have to expand a certain area. And if people aren't expanding in their crown chakra or third eye because they don't believe in it, then we have to kind of like accept that and just see that there's 2 different, you know, vibrations that are conversing in that moment, and just kind of, you know, allow it to be. You know, other people's words don't define us, you know. So that's how I see that. The next question is, this one is more personal rather than spiritual. I have often felt like I don't fit in. I've heard in your videos that you don't interact with people much and like to be more on your own. I am similar. How does one not let this affect our self-worth and spiritual gifts both? If anything, that made my spiritual gifts a lot stronger, because, you know, I'm not talking to human beings, I'm talking to spirit. So I, you know, and I talk a lot, so I was just always conversing with spirit. So I would say to get to know your spirit guides and talk with your spirit guides. You know, if you like being alone, that's cool. I like being alone too, but connect with your spirit guides, because you're never really alone. Your spirit guides are always with you, so always connect with your spirit guides. I like to joke with my spirit guides, and towards my spirit guides, like if I'm feeling like an emotion, I'm feeling really tired, or if I'm feeling like annoyed, they'll make like a meme, or they'll send me a meme like clairvoyantly, and I'll just start laughing. Like when I was going through my last spiritual awakening, and I just ascended, I'd gone through, not spiritual awakening, spiritual ascension, I'm used to saying awakening. I'd gone through this very profound ascension, and I finally got my feet back on the ground, and that's when I went through my Kundalini awakening. As it started beginning, I said to spirit, like, spirit, no, please don't do this. And they knew, you know, it was for my greater good. They knew, and they sent me that video of, you know, that guy from The Office, and he's like, no, God, please, no. And they started sending that to me, like, to, you know, to kind of converse with me. So it's like I'm always chatting with them, you know what I mean? And in regards to self-worth, again, I feel like that can help your self-worth, because it's like no one can define you, you know what I mean? Being on my own, it's made me realize no one can define me, only I can define me. And I say who I am in this lifetime, because, you know, no one's living life through my perception, and I say who I am. So it's helped me really get to know myself. So use the time to get to know yourself, you know, through palmistry and numerology and astrology, or just connecting with spirit. Getting to know yourself really helps, you know what I mean? That's what I found. It's worked a charm for me. Could you please share your personal recommendations on YouTube channels, videos, websites, and or any other spiritual purposes? I'm going to head on to my YouTube a second. God, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to head onto my YouTube, look at my subscriptions, and I'm going to talk about some YouTubers that I found help me and that I love to watch. How do I look at my subscriptions? This is the thing. I have a Stellium and Aquarius, but I don't know how to use the internet very well. Subscriptions, we have it. Oh wait, no. What am I doing? Got it. I have it. Show 255 more. Yes, please. Okay, so one of the first things that I like on YouTube is Spirit Science. They use a little cartoon to talk about what they talk about, and they talk about all kinds of things. The flower of life. They talk about crystals and how they work. They talk about lucid dreaming, manifestation, how it works, how the earth kind of came to be. They use like Hinduism in it as well, and it's really cool because they use like a little cartoon to talk about it, and I really like it, and I've been watching them for a long time. I've been watching them since 2012, like for a really long time, and I really like them. So Spirit Science is one that I like. For manifestation, if you guys are looking into manifestation, Aaron Doughty is really good. He's like blown up now. I think he has like 1 million subscribers now. But Aaron Doughty is really, really good. I like him if you don't know him. Really good. I also love Activation Vibration. She reminds me of myself, and she just is just like the divine feminine at its finest. She's the most beautiful human being I've ever seen in my life. So if you don't follow Activation Vibration, her name is Heather. She's just a beautiful soul. Definitely go subscribe to her because she's just amazing. Who else do I have on here? I'm finding people. Anyone that's looking into anyone that's looking into like numerology and looking deeper into numerology, I would send you Bridget Love's way. Bridget Love, she's a numerologist, and she does Vedic astrology as well, and she is amazing, absolutely amazing. Because I dropped numerology for a while because I was so focused on astrology, and when I came back to numerology in 2017, I fell across her videos before I realized that there was like a whole spiritual community, and I used to binge watch Bridget Love. I think she's amazing. She's so good at what she does, and she's really talented. So if you're interested in more numerology videos and explanations, definitely head over to Bridget Love because she is so good. Channeling Eric as well. Like I said, I like to watch the older videos because that's just what I'm used to. I'm quite fixed like that. I haven't watched any of the new videos because I just watch the same ones over and over, but going all the way back to like 2012, 13, 14, them ones, I like to watch those. So Channeling Eric, and Eric spelled with a K. Christina Lopez, let me think her name. Christina Lopez, and it's like DPT MPH, like that's how her name is. She talks about the dark night of the soul and spirituality as well. I love her story times. I love like what she talks about, and I think anyone that's going through like a profound spiritual awakening at the moment, she's really helpful to watch. When I was going through my dark night of the soul, she really helped me. So I definitely send you to her. She has a really lovely energy as well. I would definitely say her. I'm just going to keep going because I want you guys to get as much out of this as you can. Oh, a tarot video for you guys. A tarot channel. Dion's Divine. Very, very good. I watch his videos a lot, and I think he's really good, and I like his videos. One person that I will say, her YouTube's here, so you can follow her on YouTube, but she's really active on Instagram. Her name is Jaelissa, so spell it Jaeilliss. Q&A, and she does like personal readings and things like that, but I follow her on Instagram and she has like a really lovely vibe, and she's always tweeting like messages from spirit, and she does lives as well, and I just love her energy. I had a reading from her once and she was very accurate. I really like her, so definitely go follow her on Instagram, and subscribe to her too, because you know, she's great. For those of you that really like love reading, so for those of you that like watch my videos for like the love picker cards, like, you know, what do they think of me, you know, all of that, I would tell you to go and subscribe to Lumiere. It's Lumiere. She's like a lovely lady. She has the most beautiful accent and voice. Like, I fall asleep to her voice, and she does a lot of picker cards on how does so and so think of me, those type of readings, like relationship readings, and she's really good. So I will send you there for that. I'm gonna find like different ones. Okay, so there's one guy who, his name is Mujiji or Muji, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he does a lot of YouTube videos. He's an older guy, and he is just so enlightened and just so, I love listening to him speak. He doesn't just sit in front of a camera, he does talks, he holds things. I hope one day I'll meet him. He's like, if anyone said to me one day like, who would you like to meet, I would like to meet him. He's amazing. So I'll actually put the names of everything up on screen for you, instead of just spelling everything out. But he is amazing, and if you guys are looking for some wisdom, head over to him and subscribe to him, because he's so amazing. I've like fallen in love. For those of you that like celebrity readings and you like to watch celebrity readings, there's two people I'm going to send you to. The first one is Isabel Mitten. She's a witch doctor, and she's amazing at what she does. She covers like a lot of secrets about celebrities and stuff, and I don't know, her vibe and her energy is very attractive. Like, I just love to listen to her. She's so funny, so I like her. And then another person who does readings on celebrities is Wisdom and Light, and I really like her energy too. She's really lovely. So go and watch her. Obviously Stargirl the Practical Witch, but I'm sure every single one of you are subscribed to Stargirl the Practical Witch. She is amazing, and I like her because she has the same moon and rising as me too. So like Vishuddha Das, Vishuddha Das does kind of like videos about spirituality and awakenings and things like that. So anyone that's kind of lost or wanting some guidance on their spiritual journey, Vishuddha Das or Vishuddha Das, however you say it, he is really, really good as well. And if you guys are looking to get into astrology a little bit more, one of my favorite people, and I think she's probably one of the best astrologies out there, I love her interpretations, is Divine Venus. I think her name's Elisa. Oh my god, I absolutely love her. When I first was like getting deeper into astrology, like back in the day, like she was the one that I would like watch, because she was like one of the only people doing it at one time, and I would just always send you there because she's amazing at what she does. Absolutely love Divine Venus. I doubt any of them are going to watch these. Maybe actually, let's manifest, they're all going to watch these, so I love you if you're watching. But yeah, those are my favorites to watch, so definitely go and subscribe to those. And the final two questions is, can a girl of 12 years old watch tarot card readings if she's into spirituality? That's my only question, of course. You can watch them. I put 18 plus just because I was just told to. Like, I was told about 18 plus, but like I learned tarot very young. So, you know, away from the more adult topics, I have to say, to be a good adult, stay away from the more adult topics. But yeah, you can watch tarot card readings, of course you can. There's no harm in that, watching them. Not at all. I learned tarot very young, so you're fine. And then the last one is, I would love to learn more about numerology and astrology, especially the first one, but where are the good learning schools? I really want to learn from people that are teaching from their heart and not the money. So I've learned a lot of what I've known through like courses online, or just like learn online, or books. So if you're like new to like astrology especially, I show these earlier, but the only way to learn astrology, they cover any question that you would ever think of. There's about 7 volumes of them. I have 7 anyway. There may be more. I've only got 7 of them, but this is the first one, and these are the best for learning astrology. What I will say though, if you're looking to learn like Vedic astrology or anything like that, Bridget Love that I just mentioned, she is doing a Patreon where she's like teaching that to people, and she, you know, like you said, you want someone that teaches from the heart. She does. She's amazing. And she also teaches numerology on her channel too, so definitely subscribe to Bridget Love, because I've learned a lot of numerology from Bridget Love, to be honest with you, and I would definitely you know, go there. If you'd rather someone speaking, a lot of what I've learned is from books, like I have like numerology books and whatnot, but if you want someone to like literally like teach, I'm gonna send you Bridget Love's Way. I think she's amazing, but also Divine Venus for astrology because she's really good as well. So yeah, that's it guys, we've made it. It's like a 2-hour long video, Jesus. This is gonna be a while to edit. I don't know whether it's gonna go up on the day that I said that I would put it up, but I will try to. So thank you guys so much if you've made it this far watching this video. I talk so much, but thank you so much for submitting your questions. I've loved doing this. I've loved answering. Next time I'll do a live. Next time I'll do a live. Next time I'll do a live stream. Yeah, I'll do another one of these soon and I'll do a live stream. So like I said, I hope I answered all your questions correctly and I gave you guys some good insight and some of my wisdom. I've really enjoyed doing this. Thank you as always for supporting my channel. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. So thank you guys for watching.